today. And what unites these pages, despite the difference of perspectives, despite the differences of opinion, is clarity. They strip away false comfort and compel us to face our most difficult relationships. Let us first of all concede that we meet at a time when the world is perhaps in its most volatile condition since the end of the Cold War. With President Trump once more in the United States, relations between India and the US, as we know, have grown more jagged than expected. Meanwhile, Pakistan has ascended again to a Cold War perch, offering rare earths, flirting with crypto promises, and dangling strategic access. And in this churn, to be candid, we find ourselves with no fully dependable ally amongst the great powers. Against this global turbulence stands our most proximate challenge, Pakistan. The Pahalgam massacre, as you know, was not merely another terrorist outrage. It was intended to wound our social fabric, to provoke communal fracture, to sap confidence in the state. Operation Sindoor was India's firm reply. It showed both capability and resolve, but let us be candid. Episodic retaliation is not strategy. Deterrence cannot be a single strike. It must be structured, sustained, and credible. Otherwise, the lesson Islamabad draws is not restraint, but merely to wait for the next opportunity. What are the 5 likely scenarios that we can look at it today from an academic point of view? First, hostile stalemate, the default mode. Proxy war continues, India retaliates, relations remain frozen. Here, General Asif Munir's Praetorian Guard meets Trumpian volatility, rhetoric inflamed, reality entrenched. Second, a managed confrontation. Minimal channels of communication remain, occasional back channels operate, but mistrust is permanent. Like the line of control itself, armed, tense, never dismantled. Third is the thin, cold peace. Some trade, some exchanges, a fragile ceasefire, but suspicion saturates everything. The fourth is the collapse and balkanization of Pakistan's internal fragility deepens, economic breakdown, ethnic fissures, a Praetorian state that overarches. This scenario carries great dangers for itself, although it may look rosy as a long-term vision. For nuclear weapons do not vanish when states fracture. Fifth scenario, the least likely and yet not impossible, and for which Ambassador Skotra, Mani Shankar Iyer Sahab have all worked for a lifetime. A breakthrough moment where political will, civil society, and external alignments converge to force a genuine reset. It has happened in history, but it cannot be conjured by hope alone. As Ambassador Rasgotra writes in the final page of his essay, or the final words of his essay, and the value of dialogue. Even in the bleakest of times, talking matters. I remember chairing the track to dialogue, or Chawra dialogue, which sustained at least fragments of rationality when governments had turned away. As the poet Faiz Ahmad Faiz reminded us, and perhaps many in this audience can recite him better than I can do, हम परवरिश लौह कलम करते रहेंगे, जो दिल पे गुजरती है, रकम करते रहेंगे. We continue to nurture the pen and the tablet, inscribing what the heart endures. Finally, 5 hard-headed recommendations from this landscape which I have painted before you. Let me give you some 5 recommendations, which flow from the book, but also move out of the. Retaliation cannot be ad hoc. It must be doctrine, credible in word and deed. Second, strengthen internal resilience. India's external strength rests on internal cohesion, especially in Jammu and Kashmir, where sustained peace must continue to be built. Third, deploy Track 2 as strategy, not sentiment. Track 2s are not nostalgia, they're safety walls and should be used deliberately to prevent total rupture. Fourth, reframe the regional chessboard. Do not allow Pakistan to hold South Asia hostage. Embed the region decisively in networks of trade, connectivity, and partnerships beyond the subcontinent. Finally, balance resolve with restraint. Never ever yield to terror or nuclear blackmail, but never allow India to be painted as the obstacle for peace. Inder Kumar Gujral, seen as a great nostalgic figure in India-Pakistan relations, used to recall, and Ambassador S.D. Muni, a friend of Gujral Sahab, will recall that when Prime Minister Gujral had returned from the SAARC summit in Male, he told us about Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's candor. I know you cannot give me Kashmir, I know I cannot take it from you, but let's keep speaking. मैं जानता हूँ गुजराल साहब तुसी मैनू कश्मीर दे नहीं सकते और मैं ले नहीं सकता. But let's keep speaking. गुफ्तगू बंद ना हो. That was a different time, a time when there was a civility in Pakistan's relations with India. Today the air is darker, but across the region there remains a yearning. And for that reason, we must continue to try and build peace. As the Mahabharata teaches us, peace is the highest dharma, but peace without vigilance is folly. Our charge then is to hold them together, resolve and restraint, realism and hope. Thank you very much, sir.